Welcome to Mark Bell's. Welcome to Mark Bell's Powercast. Right? No.
No, not anymore.
Welcome to Mark Bell's Power Project.
Projectile.
Yeah. Projectile. That Double Dragon. You know about Double Dragon?
The Nintendo game?
That game was sick. That was great. You could actually throw the guy.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Everybody looked like Beavis and Butthead.
They did.
They had big heads.
Being able to throw the guy was great. Like you could punch and kick, and then you could grab the guy and you could chuck him. That was my favorite. And you could throw him into another guy.
And you can pick up bats and just whack.
Yeah.
Like they all had the exact same swing each time.
I'm old. I'll admit it, but like they don't make them like they used to, man. Like
Yeah.
those games were sick.
They're really hard too.
They are really hard. You know what's the hardest thing ever is arcade games, though.
They're impossible.
They're just trying to rip you off and get all those quarters.
Exactly. Like game, especially. So you just said arcade games, but like arcade, like NBA Jam. Like
Oh my God.
there's no way you.
He's on fire.
Like the computer would get so fast, so quick. Like as soon as you break away for like 5 points, they just steal the ball from you, hit threes from all over the court. It's like, dude, what's like? Come on, how do you? I want to get those power ups. Like
It's like a glitch or something. Something's broken.
yeah, they're just
The
quarter
double dragon
stealers.
I was referring to is when you have to take a dump and throw up at the
Oh.
same time. That's double dragon.
Yeah,
Yeah, double dragon that ass.
yeah. So then, do you go toilet to ass, trash can to face?
Yeah, I think that's the logical step. For me, I just go in the shower. I'm like,
That's even better.
I'm just going to hang out in the shower and just going to like, if things spray out from one end, then just clean it up. I got a detachable shower head. We can go nuts in here.
Just hose you right down.
Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking
man.
of hose. Wait, what?
There's some hose in
Ho
there.
ho ho.
Oh, that's right.
This is
Those
our
type of
Christmas-
hose.
This is our yeah, what were you thinking about?
The chocolate pastries.
Ho ho. The slutty brownie.
Yeah,
That
the
was
old
pretty
slutty
good.
brownie.
Joey's good at making those slutty
I haven't
brownies.
tried them yet, but Jasmine likes them.
Yeah, they're really. Oh, she's had them.
Yeah, at the basically the Christmas party we had last year with like everybody here, or maybe it wasn't Christmas. What? Just the ST party, like
Hanukkah holiday. But I gotta call it holiday.
Yeah,
We
it
don't
was
want-
during holiday
we
last
don't
year.
want some people, Steven, to be offended. Right?
Yeah,
I don't know if Josh celebrates that kind of stuff either. Does he?
I think he does Kwanzaa.
He's always grumpy about something.
Hmm
Him and Smokey, they're rubbing off on each other like literally.
They're morphing into the same person.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird.
Yeah,
A little Jewish Asian guy with a beard.
yeah,
That's gonna get to be really strange.
yeah. Like especially because I don't know. I mean, Josh has like zero body hair.
Hey,
body
would
fur.
you get serious for a minute? We have a podcast to do here, and you're interrupting.
My bad.
You're being very disruptive today.
I didn't know we started. I clicked start, but I didn't know.
We got to get that thing. Hey, if you guys are listening, if you know anybody with some dough, like I got some money, but I don't have the kind of money that we need to fix this podcast thing. I will take a picture of it today.
Okay.
We're gonna post it up and show you guys. There's not much left to it, but things from like the '60s, which makes it hard because no one even knew what a podcast was in the '60s. But
It's impossible to find parts for it now because it's so old. Everybody switched over to something new, and we thought we were getting a good deal, but now we understand why it was so cheap.
yeah, we're sorry about the 1080p or the
720.
720.
Yeah.
Yeah, 720. Sorry about the 720. We're lucky if we have 720. We're shooting this thing on a potato
Yeah.
with potato starch and potato extract.
Yeah. So that's why sometimes the lenses get a little greasy because it's from the oil from trying to fry the potato, trying to get it to work, but it ain't working.
We're getting trans fatty acids going here.
Yeah.
Welcome to Mark Bell's Power Project, everybody. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you like this episode, if you find this episode helpful, please share it with some other people. That's the cost of admission to come here on the Power Project. I've had the Power Project for a very, very long time. I had a different version of this podcast going on for a while. But before that, I was doing Power Project stuff just with my phone, doing a selfie, and spitting out some information for you guys. I am a long-time powerlifter. Started powerlifting when I was 12. I'm 42 now, and I love every minute of it. I love training. I love getting strong, and I love working on the business. I created a product called the Slingshot. It's a supportive upper body device for bench press, push-ups, and dips. It allows you to handle more weight. It allows you to get in a better position with your bench presses so that you don't get hurt. Your elbows are tucked into the side just as they should be. And then based off of that product, I helped create a lot of other products that have really been products to lower the barrier of entry into training. Training hurts. If you're training intensely, it hurts, causes a lot of pain. So we created knee sleeves, wrist wraps, elbow sleeves, slingshots, knee wraps, singlets, deadlift socks, shin savers. We created all kinds of things that have all sorts of functions and allow you to train through and around your injury. So if you want to check any of that out, it's over at markbellslingshot.com. Still love powerlifting to this day and have a goal nowadays to hit up a 500-pound bench at 220. Might be doing it at the Slingshot Classic, which is February 9th and 10th. The Super Training Classic, if I said that correctly. The Super Training Classic, February 9th and 10th, which will be here in Sacramento. I believe on February 10th, we have a special guest coming in by the names of Jay Cutler. He'll be there. We also got Matt Vincent will be coming in. My boy Jesse Burdick. We got a lot of other. We'll have a star-studded lineup for sure. There'll be more and more people that are going to want to attend, but you can sign up for it. And where can people sign up for it? We have a sign-up place yet?
We have to. I just don't know exactly where that lives.
Oh, no.
I'll figure it out, though.
We'll figure it out. We'll attach a link or something to this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And down in the show notes and on YouTube right now on the live stream, I'll figure it out, and you guys can check there as well.
We'll get that part sorted out. Anyway, that's the goal for now. I want to bench over 500 pounds, weighing in at 220, and a lot of other goals that I have. But having these goals gives me responsibility, the responsibility to make myself better in the gym is something that I live off of. I gain energy off of, and it helps with every other aspect of my life. And it's something I've noticed and recognized from a lot of other people. The more purpose, the more intent that you have, the better off that everything else is. We got my boy Andrew Zaragoza over there. He is the host of our podcast. I had an event here years ago at Super Training Gym. Andrew came in and was snapping some pictures. I thought he was just some weird pervert. Turns out he was. And the rest is history. He gave me his card, and I needed a photographer. And then Andrew came in, did photography. He did videos, and he did Hustlemania. And now he's our podcast engineer.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year. And we were talking about right now having our Christmas episode.
It's really only been a half year for us in terms of our podcast.
Yeah, I mean, and you hate to say like, oh man, it's been, it feels like way longer just because like that's just kind of like a weird thing to say for some reason. But it is like a blink of an eye that this podcast is already now going to hit 160, or I think today's officially 150 because of the stuff that we haven't produced with Khalifa and Seth Rollins. So we had to go back a couple of numbers here.
Oh man.
But it just seems like even a week ago was like 6 months ago because we film and we record so much. We've done we've traveled, we're
flying around.
We went to hang out with Chuck Liddell, Phil Heath. I mean, you name it. Like we've been there, and you're right. It all started just a handful of months ago.
And it's something that we're passionate about, excited about. And so here we go. Today's our Christmas special. We're going to be talking to you a lot about what to do on Christmas and what you should be doing and shouldn't be doing, and maybe give you some insight into some things that can just help mitigate some of these fattening foods that you might be thrown your way on this day. So what I'd like everyone to do is have some mental prep going into all this. Have some mental prep into the family members that you're going to run into. Have some mental prep into the foods that you're going to run into. In terms of your family members, I talk about this very often on this podcast. You pretty much know where you're going to be every single day. You got a good idea of that. You have a good understanding of, I'm going to work, this hour to this hour approximately. You have at least some concept of that. Well, you at least have some concept of when the Christmas parties are and where they're going to be and whom you're going to run into. So what I would like to suggest, I'm big on family, and I think family is really important. And I think that we have a tendency to kind of undersell the importance of family. We have a tendency to limit family to only the people that live inside our home. And, family is oftentimes much bigger than that. And what I want to try to suggest to everybody, and I know it's not easy, but I'd like for everybody to do the best they can and try to suck it up, especially for this year. We're gonna have a little exercise to do here. In addition to actually exercising, I'm going to give you guys some homework to do. And maybe this is something that you should plan on trying. And this is something you can do at any party. It doesn't have to be around Christmas time. But you pretty much know where you're going to go. You know you're going to go to your mom's house or your grandma's house or your aunt's house. Like there's these family traditions that we have every year that we continue to go to, right? So think about that uncle, that aunt, that somebody that maybe it's not your favorite thing every year to get in full conversation with them. And I want you to try to think about, first of all, embrace people for who they are. If this person's been the same person for the last 2 years, the last 3 years, the last 5 years, the last 8 years, the last 10 years, then that is just who they are. And to try to impose your will on them and try to impose maybe your thoughts on politics or religion or your thoughts on lifting or your thoughts on fitness and your thoughts on food. Maybe to think that they want everything out of life that you want, maybe that's not a great idea. But instead, let's try to do something a little different. Let's think about something that they may want to talk about and be prepared. Think about the different people you're going to run into. Be a little bit prepared ahead of time to talk to your uncle who maybe the only thing he loves to talk about is hunting. Or be prepared to talk to your aunt and her favorite thing is to talk about art or whatever it is. Maybe that little bit of preparation will allow you to handle them better. I don't know about you guys. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I am socially awkward. And I kind of, it's weird because, when I'm inside Super Training Gym and get me in front of a camera, then, lights, camera, action, and I can go and I can talk and do all those things. But I'm actually pretty shy and pretty reserved, and I don't really usually want to talk to people that much. In the past, this kind of stuff has been things that have helped me to get over some of that. I don't really have like crazy social anxiety or anything, but I just, if I had my own choice, I probably just wouldn't say a whole lot, is the truth of it. But I've learned that that's not great because as an adult, people interpret that as me being pissed off. When I'm not, I just, sometimes choose not to really say a whole lot, just choose to listen and absorb what other people are talking about, what other people are saying. So that'd be my advice for this year. Like, you know where you're going to be. You know who you're going to run into. Maybe have some stuff prepared. Maybe talk about football or talk about something on TV or talk about just have something kind of preset and ready to rock.
That's what I was going to say because I haven't been following football basically at all this year. And I mean, who has an uncle that's going to talk about football? Like we all have that, or a cousin or something. So that's kind of what I'm thinking I might have to actually do.
How about those LA Rams?
Yeah, see, I didn't even know they were in LA.
I think they're in LA.
They are. I just
Right.
When you said it, I'm like, damn, are they? But yeah, no, they are. That's right. That's how disconnected I am.
There's 2 LA teams, and they're both doing really good. LA Rams.
That's
and
right.
LA Chargers.
The Rams are like in first place right now, I think.
Yeah, and the Chargers are doing really well.
See, do you guys see what I just did there?
Mm-hmm.
I pretended to know that the Rams were in first place. I don't know if they actually are.
I know they were for a little bit, but football gets this time of year gets tricky. People accumulate some losses pretty quickly this time of year.
Yeah, I do know the Niners spoiled the Seahawks this Sunday. I do know that much because my mom texted me. That's how I know.
Your mom let you know, huh?
Yeah, it's cool. They still watch the Niners every single day or every week.
We have a white elephant party tomorrow. That should be pretty cool. I don't know if you guys play any of that at home, but it's basically just everyone purchases a gift, everyone that wants to be in on it, and it's anonymous on where the gift came from. I guess people can tell you later on where it came from, but it's a way to prevent from like having to buy a million presents for everybody in your office. So
yeah,
that's what we did.
It's cool. I'm still very much unprepared for that. I have no idea what to get.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I was gonna get like a gift card for Slingshot for
That's the best.
yeah, for Slingshot gear. See what happens. See who wins that. That'd be great if you got stuck with it.
Stick a War on Carbs book in there or something, right?
Yeah.
People be like, "This is the worst."
Hmm.
And then also too, like prepare yourself for like what's going to go on for the next couple days. Start to think about where you're going to be. Do you have access to any weights, or do you have access to any form of exercise? What's the food going to look like? What's the food going to be? You might be thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to meal prep because I'm just going to eat whatever." But are you going to eat whatever for the next 2 weeks? Because New Year's is like a week after Christmas, and you're just going to let all that stuff kind of go into the following year. Again, as we talk about all the time on this podcast, there's no reason to be a real maniac about it, but you got to set down some rules and boundaries if you're somebody that wants to be a savage, if you want to have goals, if you want to be in better shape, if you want to be better than you were yesterday. The only way to do that is to be prepared, and you'll have to be prepped for the different things that are coming. So if you know on the 25th of December that you have a big family dinner, and on the 24th, you know that you have a big family like brunch or lunch or whatever it might be, maybe there's some preparation going into that. And then you could say, okay, well, what does that preparation look like? Maybe you eat a lot less food the days before, if you can handle that. Maybe you try some fasting. Maybe you try to exercise a little bit more. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't really care what I eat at all. I'm going to use a little bit of intermittent fasting, and I'm going to do some cardio. And that's going to mask whatever the hell I eat. Maybe it won't mask everything, but not a bad strategy. And you eat kind of whatever you'd like for a day or two.
Yeah. How much time do you think people should give themselves? I mean, I know we're cutting it close here, but like, let's say someone started tomorrow with like a intermittent fasting, or they're just saying, I'm going to avoid the lame office potluck and bring my own food. And then over the weekend, control it. And then come Monday, Tuesday, that's when like the sweets and everything starts coming out. Is that enough time for somebody to really take advantage of basically kind of prepping?
Absolutely. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you can start to mess around with some fasting. And each day you can pick a certain amount of hours that you want to fast, 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours. They say some of the magical benefits, quote unquote magical, benefits of fasting start to happen in that 16 to 20 hour range. And so I choose to kind of stick it out a little bit longer. But if you've never done any fasting before, 12 hours is a good start. And fasting is just going to be a way to manipulate your calories. And by fasting, I mean you're not ingesting anything other than water and coffee. There are things that are called a liquid fast, and you can mess with that as well, where you have water, coffee, bone broth, maybe add some salt, maybe you have coffee with a little bit of butter in it. So there's some other options that you can choose that have at least some calories in it. If you're worried about like just blacking out and not feeling very good from not eating, you can mess around with some different things. But yeah, there's enough time to mess around with some fasting. I mean, it's we're on Thursday right now, and you got tomorrow, you got Saturday, you got Sunday, and then you got Christmas Eve, and then you have Christmas Day. So you can toy around with some fasting. I personally don't like to fast every single day. I think it's a little bit much. So I'll fast. I'll fast. I'll do intermittent fasting for 16 hours on say like a Monday and like a Tuesday, and then Wednesday will be a break from fasting, and then I'll go Thursday with fasting, and I'll eat again on Fridays. Things like that. So I try to mix it up so I'm not fasting every single day. I might fast pretty hard or pretty tough 4 to 5 times a week, but I think it's a little stressful to do it every single day. So that's why I try to mix it up. But if you're somebody looking for some ideas, you can cut way back on your carbs. Like you don't have to cut anything out. You don't have to try anything really drastic. If you're used to cutting out carbs, then maybe you should cut them out. But if you're not used to cutting out carbs, maybe you just cut them way back and say, you know what, the second half of the day, I'm not going to eat hardly any carbohydrates, or I'm only going to eat them the second half of the day, or however you want to sort it out. You can even just say, hey, you know what, for the next 3 days in a row or 4 days in a row, I'm going to do some cardio training, or I'm going to make sure I go for a good, strong, brisk walk and try to, walk maybe a little faster than normal and try to burn off a little bit more. But you want to be prepped going into it, and you want to try to think about it. And if you don't really want to have a whole lot of guidelines in terms of your diet, intermittent fasting is great, because then you have the opportunity to eat almost whatever you want when you start to eat. The other thing is too that you could do if you want to even have less regard towards what you eat is you can just train really, really hard. For the next couple days, and maybe even on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, you still make sure that you get in a walk, or still make sure you do something. You could say, I'm going to do 200 push-ups and 200 squats, and you can go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on that. I've always loved the tradition of, doing stuff on Christmas Day, and I'll probably this year, it'll probably just be a walk. It probably won't be anything much more than that. But other years I have gone to the gym and I've worked out, and I put in a good strong workout for like an hour. I mean, most people say, oh, you're busy on Christmas, but I mean, no one's, well, sometimes your kids are up really early when you have children, but once they open up their presents, there really ain't shit to do. So you can sit for a little bit, probably get something done, whether it be something that you do outside or at a gym, or you can probably sneak away for at least a little bit and do something. But the point is be prepared for that. Be mentally ready for that. Be ready for the fact that there's going to be an office party and there's going to be all this candy there, and people are going to make stuff for you. And how are you going to react to that? You're going to throw away everything that someone made for you. I think you should probably at least try some of it. At least have some of it. I think it's just kind of common courtesy, and it's not going to kill you to go off your diet a little bit. It's not going to kill you to go off your plan a little bit. But what I'm trying to say is make sure you still have a plan. Make sure you have, because the further you get away from your plan, the harder it's going to be to get back to it. And that's what I don't want to see. I don't want to hear people saying, oh man, Christmas Eve came and I was, I had to travel to San Jose, and then Christmas Day I was back here in Sacramento and I just ate whatever, and now it's hard for me to get back in the routine, and I haven't lifted in 5 days, and I've been eating like shit for the last 3 days, and there's all these bowl games on, there's all these football games on, there's this on, there's that's on. There's all these different things to enjoy and all these different things to do. And I'll get back in the gym, January 1, or I'll start my diet January 1. And then you look at January 1 and you're like, oh man, like that's, New Year's Day, and I'm going to be hungover from New Year's Eve activities.
And plus it's on a Tuesday. So if I start on a Tuesday, then it's going to throw off the whole routine, because I'm supposed to start on Monday because that's chest day. So I can't push that to Tuesday because then I'm going to mess up my leg day. Like, okay, so
International Chest Day.
Chest Day. So I'm going to miss that. I can't miss chest day. So I got to wait till the next week.
Right.
Because I got to start it off right.
And you hear that all the time, and people want to try to just keep pushing off and pushing off and pushing off, and you push off your hopes, you push off your dreams, you push off these things that you really wanted to do. And that's how we get, everyone being so negative about New Year's resolutions, which I don't think a New Year's resolution is a bad idea at all. I do think that, nearly everything that we do is made up, like even the day itself is sort of made up. It's obvious that the sun comes up and the sun goes down. But this clock that we follow, this AM PM rhythm that we follow, and some of these things are all kind of like made up for us to be able to schedule our day properly, and so, and these holidays, and I mean everything is kind of made up, and I think it's up to you to kind of make your decision on how you want to react to it. What do you want to do about it? Do you want to just fold up shop for the next 2 weeks and say, I'm just going to eat whatever I want and do whatever I want? That's a really bad idea. You're going to lose a lot of the progress you've made. You probably already have come pretty far. And this idea of a New Year's resolution, I think it's positive. I don't think there's really anything negative. I do however have a problem with talking about stuff that you're never going to do. And so for that reason, I would think, when it comes to a New Year's resolution, think of something that's rational. Be a rational being. Be someone who has good conscious thought into what you're doing. Don't talk about things that are never going to happen. Cowards talk about what they will never do. Remember that. Have that quote pop up in your head when somebody tells you they're going to do something. You're like, you know what? That fucking guy is full of shit. He ain't ever going to do that. You know what I mean. You guys have heard that before. You've heard people say something. You're like, man, that was outlandish. That guy ain't ever going to do that. That guy never put 2 and 2 together, And that's that's just the way things are. You're gonna see and hear a lot of people talk about some weird stuff for their New Year's resolution, but for yourself, just make sure it's rational. Make sure it's a plan that you can align a lot of the other things that you want in your life. I was listening to something the other day, and the guy said, in the beginning of the school year, this is freaking fantastic stuff that I heard the other day. But he said in the beginning of the school year that they should sit you down and they should say, write down your grades. And the guy interviewing him said, that's ridiculous. Why would you do that? Everyone's just going to put down an A. He goes, well, here's why. So you write down what grades you want for each subject. And everybody writes down an A. Well, now you start to go over it with them and say, that's what you want? You want an A? Okay. Well, an A is perfect. Are you willing to work for perfection? Are you willing to align your thoughts, your mind, your spirit, everything you do? Are you willing to align everything with being perfect, with being the best, with being one of the smartest students in the class? Are you willing to align yourself with that and the responsibility of that? Then one kid might kind of get scared and go, well, Jesus, okay. So now that you put it that way, maybe I'm more like a B, right? You go to the next kid and say, hey, man, to get an A, it's going to take a lot of reading. It's going to take a lot of time. I know that you love to play basketball. I know you love hanging out with your girlfriend on the weekend. And then the kid might be like, okay, I'm kind of cool with a B, right? And that's how you start to get to logical and rational answers rather than somebody saying, no, I'm going to be an A. And somebody who's rational and reasonable and somebody who wants to be a go-getter, they're saying, you know what, I still want that A. I still want to have the best grade in the class. That's my goal. And I want to do it in math. I want to do it in science. And you're going to have a lot of people like that. But it's also good for people to understand it's okay to have other things that you want to be involved in. If you want to be popular in school and you want to play football and you want to be on the wrestling team and you want to do all these different things, it's not that it's impossible, but it might not be the most rational thing to have straight A's and everything. And when you think about your New Year's resolutions, that's what you want to put down on paper. You want to start to think about, what do I want? What do I want from this year? Not what do I want forever? What do I want for this year? Like for this upcoming year, maybe it's your goal to meet somebody that you have a good time with. That's somebody that could potentially be a partner of yours down the road, right? But maybe you're not looking for someone to get married because maybe you're not currently in a relationship. Maybe that's too much of a stretch. Maybe your goal in 2019 is to not necessarily become a millionaire because you're not within range of any of that. It doesn't really make sense. You don't have an invention in your back pocket. You don't have a book that you wrote. You don't have a lottery ticket. You don't have something that makes sense for you to do that. But you just say, I want to work my way towards financial freedom in 2019. I want to not worry about $300. I want to not worry about if my car breaks down, that's going to be a huge hit to me and my family. Those are things that you're probably, that are probably well within range that you can have as a goal. And then also too, what about more general goals? 2019, I want to be better at this. And then also aligning things to go along with that. 2019, I want to be a better communicator. In 2019, I want to, I didn't read any books last year, and I promised myself I would. So now I'm going to commit. I want to set the bar really low so that you knock it out of the park. Give yourself that underhand pitch so you can knock that son of a bitch out of the park. Say, I want to read 3 books next year. And when you read 3 books in 1 month, then you can celebrate and be like, wow, okay, I got to change my New Year's resolution. You can already have done it early in the year. I want to lose 10 pounds. Last year I was unsuccessful with this. Stack it up against things you've done in the past. Stack it up against your failures. Stack it up against things that you've missed in the past. And say, one of my things I want to do is I want to make sure that I don't do that again. I want to make sure that I'm better than I was last time when that came around. Last year, I wasn't able to increase my deadlift at all. So this year, I want to try to increase my deadlift by 10 pounds. There's so many different things that you can kind of run through, but it all kind of starts around, and it's not even Christmas time. It's part of the reason why I made Operation Get Less Fatter, and I started it way back around Halloween. That's when the cascade of problems start to happen. Is because everyone's mind starts to drift. You're like, ooh, Halloween's here, and as we know when Halloween's coming, that candy's coming out, and we know the turkeys are coming out. We know Thanksgiving's going to happen, and we know what follows that. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's. It's this giant trap. A lot of people end up gaining 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds every year. They might lose 2 or 3 because it might be some water weight or something, but sometimes they end up holding on to that body weight, and it happens year after year after year, and you end up spinning your tires, and you end up in the same spot as you have before. You guys heard me talk about cutting corners. You keep cutting a corner, cutting a corner, cutting a corner, cutting a corner, and you have a lot of activity, you have a lot of movement, but without any productivity. You didn't actually accomplish anything. You didn't actually do anything. You went in a circle so many times that you're dizzy from it, and all you can do is sit down and relax.
What's a good example of an unhealthy resolution or something that someone, when you say people talk about what they're not going to do?
Yeah, and that would just be things that are just too much of a reach. 2019, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. Like, yes, you can lose 100 pounds in a year, but it's not wise to put yourself through that much stress. Maybe in the back of your mind, you're still thinking like big, right? You're still thinking that you want to do something big, but I think these are things that you want to have happen for sure. These are a little different than dreams and goals. This is stuff that you're kind of promising to yourself, and you want to make sure that it happens. And so I think the most reassuring thing is to pick stuff that's very reasonable, that's well within reach, and you can say, here's what I'd like to be able to lose, 25 pounds in 2019. And that doesn't mean that you can't lose more. I would like to, I'd like to increase my salary by 20 grand, by 10 grand. It doesn't mean that you can't do more than that. It just means that that's part of your New Year's resolution, that you want to at least do that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that would be a good place to start, and to try to make sure that these are things that are, they're things that you can do. Remember, I just talked about the grade that you want. If you start thinking about what do you want, okay, that's cool that you want that, but then you need to ask yourself, do you have what it takes to get it? Do you really, truly have what it takes to get it? Because that's where you're going to get hurt, and that's where you're going to get messed up, is when you can't figure out how to get it. So do you have a history of at least showing that you can align a series of segments, a series of thoughts, a series of feelings towards achieving this particular thing? You have a goal in 2019, you want to get on a bodybuilding stage. Have you ever once shown that you can drop 10 pounds? Have you ever shown at one time that you could be physically fit, that you could be in good shape? Have you ever showed some of these things before? If you've never shown some of these things before, if you've never shown that you possess the ability to get better in this way, then maybe you're not going to be able to hold on to that. Maybe that's not going to be something that's going to actually happen for you in that year.
And I like what you've said in the past, and this is like a true gem. Like, I don't even really want to admit that we do this, but if you do have a goal of, like, let's say it's 50 pounds that you want to lose next year, and you just start doing it without telling anybody, and somebody asks and they're just like, man, you look great, what have you been doing? Just what I'm working on this get less fatterist, and then now I'm reading The War on Carbs. And you just start you start just putting stuff in motion. Like, oh, well, what are your goals? Like, I'm going to probably aim for about losing 20 pounds this year. We'll see how it goes. And then all of a sudden you just break right through 20 pounds.
Right.
And
right.
It's because you were already aiming that way before you told anybody. And so by the time they figure it out, it's already too late. Like, you're already a different person by then. And then they're looking at you like, what the heck did you do? And, it kind of, for me, I think it gets rid of some of those negative thoughts you have in your head. Like, if you were to tell somebody, yeah, I plan on losing 50 pounds this year, you already start thinking like, oh, they're gonna doubt me, or nobody's gonna believe me. They're gonna make fun of me. But if you just start doing it, you kind of take the power away from them, from doubting you. And then the next thing you know, it's like you already accomplished it, and you shocked the world.
Yeah, they're like, wait. They're like, when did you start the diet? And you're like,
yeah.
I started it like about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
They're like, and you already lost 20 pounds? They're like confused. Like, wait, what? What happened? Where was I?
Yeah, there's.
Hey, man, I don't know where you were, but it happened.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, you said we were probably gonna maybe do something for New Year's. Like, yeah, I started in October.
Right.
And I know that's like if you didn't start back then, it's kind of like, well, what am I gonna do now? It's like, well, you can say like, I don't know, come summertime, you're gonna be, I don't know, you're just gonna be a healthier person,
Right.
and chances are the people you're gonna surprise, they're not gonna get started because it's hard, right? Like it's if you want to do something great, you got to work hard for it.
Yeah, right. And then a lot of people can relate to this. Like, have you ever read something and maybe it didn't affect you that much the first time you read it? Or have you ever listened to an audio book or listened to a speech from somebody? Maybe somebody shares a speech with you and you listen to it and you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then maybe like 3 months go by and you're like, oh, I think somebody said that in that speech that one time. Let me go back and look at that. And you watch it again and something just knocks you in the brain the right way, and your brain's just humming, and it's like, wow, why is that so different this time around? It's not because you found, so people will say, oh man, when I reread that book, I found all this new stuff. That's actually not true, and this is actually the reason why people like my dad read the Bible until the day they die. It's because you continue to change the person. So you continue to see things differently. It's not that there's new material in there all of a sudden. It's not like you're reading a different version of the Bible out of nowhere. You're not reading version 2.0 or whatever. It's because you became a different person. You have different perspective on things, and now these things have really popped up. Something I heard the other day too about education, and this, man, like, how sweet would this be if on, maybe not even day one of school, but every day of day one of school, from the time that you're in kindergarten till the time you leave school, they should tell you this and have you repeat this forever, basically. Education comes from a Latin word, educo, which means to come from within. And so this entire time, I've been getting shit taught to me that doesn't come from within, and I've been resistant to it, and I thought I was stupid, and I thought I was dumb. And it's like, well, if this is the definition of education, that it's supposed to come from within, then how else am I ever supposed to learn it unless I find out for myself what I like to even learn? So it's like, I don't really know how the education would change, the education system would change based off of that. But wouldn't that be a really cool thing to know as a really young child? I don't think that, no one's ever told me that before. I've never learned that before. Imagine if they tell you in first grade, they tell you in second grade, they tell you in third grade. Fourth grade comes around and you're starting to finally figure things out for yourself. And now you're like, oh, okay. So that's why I don't like science that much, but I love history. Yeah, you know what, Mark? That is cool that you love history. Maybe you should pick a couple things that go along with learning more about history, so you can kind of pursue some of that, and you can kind of angle your education towards some of the things that come from within, some of the things that are actually hitting you, some of the things that are actually making sense to you, because a lot of this other stuff just isn't adding up. And I just thought to myself, I was like, wow, that's really powerful. And then when I thought about nutrition and when I thought about training, I'm like, okay, now I get it. I'm preaching to people and I'm trying to educate people about a topic that's not coming from within. It's not coming from within them. So how do I make them feel it? Well, the way I make them feel it is by having a free gym, by having free content, by having free information, by being inviting, by not being a dick, by trying to tell you, hey man, come to Super Training Gym, 855 Riverside Parkway, every Saturday and Sunday, West Sacramento, California. Every Saturday and Sunday, we take people in for free. You can come in here and train. We're open from like around 9 o'clock until about 1. Every Saturday and Sunday, the gym is free. All that we ask you to do is to hit us up in the DM or email us. It's at Super Training Gym on Instagram. Let us know that you want to come. Don't be a coward. Don't sit in the parking lot and then leave. Actually come inside the doors and come meet us and come actually train with us and start to become part of this system, which is going to ultimately come from you. It's ultimately going to come from within. It's not going to come necessarily from something I say or from something Andrew says. It has to ultimately come from you. And when it starts to come from you, that's when you're going to do exactly what Andrew said. You're going to be ahead of the curve. You're going to already have lost 20 pounds because you sought out the information yourself. You read that book yourself. You read that book from Mark Sisson, or The War on Carbs from me, or whoever's book that you picked up about diet. You related to that. You absorbed that information. You understood it, and you went out there and you actually applied it.
Educo. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that either. I was never told that.
School is stupid.
Yeah, school is pretty dumb.
Man, wouldn't that have been nice to know that? And there's something I learned in, the weird shit I've learned in professional wrestling could be a book. But, so there was a match, and
here we go.
Yeah, man. So there was a match, and this is back in the hardcore wrestling days. The WWE for a time period. So, man, I got to go way back. Okay, so here we go. All right. I got myself straight. I'm getting excited because I love all this stuff. But so Seth Rollins came on here and he talked about backyard wrestling. Backyard wrestling gained popularity and was already kind of happening and coinciding with ECW, which happened in Philadelphia, in the Philadelphia area. And it was started by a guy named Paul Heyman, who we saw Paul Heyman on Monday Night Raw, and we saw what a talent he was and how creative he is on the microphone. He was absolutely fantastic. How much better he was on the microphone than everybody else was absolutely insane, absolutely ridiculous. This guy knows how to get a following. This guy knows how to get people fired up for wrestling. So he started what was called ECW, Extreme Professional Wrestling. Extreme Championship Wrestling, ECW. So now, some 25 years later, when Paul Heyman goes to speak at a WWE event, the crowd yells, EC-Dub, 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 every single time. This Extreme Championship Wrestling kind of spawned people to whack each other over the head with chairs, to light tables on fire and put themselves through the table, or put each other through the table, hit each other with 2x4s, have matches that were hardcore matches. The WWE at the time actually tried to rival what ECW was doing because it was impacting their views, because ECW was on TV as well. And Vince McMahon introduced the hardcore title. And the hardcore title can be won or lost anywhere at any time. So Seth Rollins was talking about traveling around with the briefcase for the Money in the Bank thing.
Yeah.
The hardcore title was won at gas stations. It was won in the mall. It was won in the airport. There was one guy waiting for his luggage, and the luggage comes down that chute. Well, another wrestler came down that chute and attacked the guy with the belt and pinned him and won the belt in the airport and all this stuff. So people are hitting each other with all these things, and that influence and impacted a lot of wrestling, and it impacted the wrestling that I was involved with. So at the shows that I did, a lot of guys would get involved with hitting each other with chairs, and they would do these huge stunts to try to get fans excited because, well, now, the ante was upped a ton. You couldn't just go in there and put somebody in a sharpshooter and hope the crowd got excited over that. They just weren't excited by that anymore. You had to whack somebody over the head with a chair or do something crazy. And so there was a match in the UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling, where I met this guy, not Jesus Christ, but John Cena, where my brothers and I got him involved in wrestling. And there was this match going on, and one guy, there was stuff by the ringside to hit each other with. But you don't hit each other with everything. You only hit each other with shit that you can actually hit each other with. And if anybody knows anything about wrestling, when somebody goes to hit you with something that you can't be hit with, you have to block them from doing so. So if somebody was to run at me with an office chair, I would kick them in the stomach because, and I would actually kick them in the stomach because maybe they don't understand that they're not supposed to hit me with that.
They're just in the moment.
If they're green and they don't know what they're doing, they might think it's okay. I've seen people get hit with chairs on TV before. We can just use any old chair. No, you need a folding chair to do that, and it makes a loud noise. And yes, it does hurt, but it makes a louder noise than anything, And so, anyway, in this match that was going on in UPW, a guy picked up a really long light bulb. and whacked the other guy over the head with it in the ring.
Oh.
And so now there's shattered glass everywhere, and they like pin each other, and he, gets on top of the other guy, and like now both of them have shards of glass in them. There's shards of glass everywhere, all around ringside. There's shards of glass in the ring. And I remember when they got backstage and they started fighting about it, and everyone started getting all aggressive, and like it almost made the whole locker room fight, which is actually really funny. One of the guys who was a senior wrestler at the time, he said, "Hey, look, you only know something, like these guys aren't stupid. You only know something when you're taught it." And that was a huge lesson for me. I was like, wow, that is so true. Like, as dumb as that was, that's actually a true statement. Like, you don't know anything until someone teaches it to you. So a lot of times when we're trying to promote fitness and we're trying to say, hey, you should abstain from these certain foods, or you should work out this way, we kind of take it for granted and just think like you should know it. But you only know the things that you've been taught. And this idea of educo and having education come from within was something that I just recently learned. And I figured, I was like, man, there's no question I'm going to share that on the podcast, because that makes a lot of sense. And I need to share that with a lot of other people. And so, back to this kind of topic of Christmas. Some of you guys are watching on YouTube, and some of you guys are watching on Instagram. Give us some comments on some things that you guys face during the holidays that are too hard to handle, whether it's worthless family members, or whether it's, trying to figure out how to abstain from all these yummy foods that are going to be around. We can give you some advice. We already threw out a little bit of advice, but, what I think is a good idea is to try to figure out when are you going to cash in on some of these cheats. And I just think it's something that you should, if you just think about it ahead of time, you could probably make some sense of it. And you don't have to go crazy, for the next 10 days. You can go crazy on Christmas Day, and maybe you can go crazy on New Year's Eve. But just be reasonable. Be reasonable with your drinking. And, this is going to sound like a corny message, but, there's so many, there's Uber. There's so many things. Do not drink, and do not, it's just, if you have to leave your car somewhere, it just makes so much, like nowadays, there's absolutely no excuse. You can Uber your way home, and you can Uber your ass back to your car in the morning when you're sober.
Yeah, very well said. What was Christmas like when you were a kid, as far as like any traditions? Like, do you guys go to a certain place?
So for Thanksgiving, every year we always all got together as a big family and played football.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the turkey, and I talked about the turkey bowl and some of that stuff. And you guys seen my that video was made about Mad Dog. He made that trophy, and the trophy was for the loser, which was pretty funny. But when it came to Christmas, it was a little similar to Thanksgiving, where we didn't play football necessarily, because in New York it was way too cold at that point to do much of anything. But my parents grew up down the street from each other, so we would go to my grandmother's house on my mom's side of the family first, and then we would go to, and that's, their last name is Finch, and then we would go to my dad's side of the family, which their last name is Bell, and we'd hang out over there. And so it was amazing, because my mom grew up in a huge family, and so did my dad. My mom's family, I think they had 9 children, and I think my dad's family had 9 children as well. So I had tons of aunts and uncles, and then my aunts and uncles all had kids. And so there's just tons of kids running around, and it was just, man, you want to talk about getting loaded up with presents. It was absolutely insane. I'd go to I'd go to my grandmother's house on my mom's side of the family, and they would load me up with Christmas presents, but also my birthday is the 10th. And so, like, my birthday's, like, strategically just in the right spot to where I can't get shafted with, hey, it's, I gave you Christmas, They still had to give me 2 separate ones because they were far enough apart. But a lot of family members wouldn't give me the present until I saw them at Christmas. So they say, here's your birthday present, here's your Christmas present. So now I'm, seeing my aunt, and I'm seeing my uncle, and I'm seeing this person, that person, and my grandma, and this person, and we're just like loading up and loading up and loading up. Like, we need like semi trucks to come, with all these damn, gifts that are coming my way. Plus, on top of that, I was the youngest person in the entire family for like like 10, 15 years or something like that, until my cousin Kyle came along, who has actually come here and lifted with us, which was pretty cool. But yeah, until he came along, I was the youngest, so like I always got spoiled. I got just so much. My brothers were always like making fun of me, and I think both my brothers always thought I was gonna become a big pussy because I was always so coddled and always so. And I was. I mean, I could cry at the drop of a hat, pretty much. But I got a lot of gifts thrown my way. I just remember it being a lot of fun too. I remember going to. Both sides of the family were a lot of fun, but I remember going to my dad's, my grandfather and grandmother's house on my dad's side, and them having the fireplace on, and we were always outside trying to do something. But late December in New York, it was just really, really freaking cold. And we'd all come in with tons of snot running off our face because, for some reason, little kids have like endless supply of snot.
Yeah, and like just totally oblivious that it's there. It's like, you want to get that, please? Because it's almost on me at this point.
Yeah, it's all over, like it's all around your nose, and it's all stuff like dripping out of your mouth, and your nose stuff is dripping into your mouth. It's all just like one disgusting.
That gave me the chills.
So everyone would get so sick too. Like every year, somebody would get like violently ill because one little kid was sick, and it just set everybody else off. But it was fun, and I remember my grandparents' house. They had the fire going, and it was all warm in there. And I'd come in, and you'd take some of your stuff off from outside, and you'd be just drenched in sweat.
Yeah, because
you're so loaded up with wearing so much crap outside. And you were getting warm out there because you were playing and making snowmen and like throwing snowballs at each other and shit like that, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And then by the time you come in, it's like 5,000 degrees in my grandmother's house, and you're just dying. Part of the reason why I wear shorts this day is like, all growing up, anywhere you go in New York, yes, it's absolutely freezing outside, but anytime you went inside somewhere, it's so hot. It's like well beyond room temperature. It's like 75, 80 degrees, and you're like, man, I'm dying over here.
Yeah, we don't have that experience here in California because most houses do have fireplaces, but unfortunately, most of them are like gas or whatever, and they don't put out like actual heat, like a real fireplace.
How about that family member's house that you go to that is 1,000,000 degrees that you have to like prep yourself for? You're like, oh man, it's gonna be a long one.
Yeah, for us it was the opposite because my dad never turned on the heater, so everyone was like, "Your guys' house is really cold."
That's rough. My house is always really cold, and like it's funny because it's not anything about like being cheap, but like I don't really love the way the heat feels. The air conditioning, I'll crank that thing all day. But I don't really love the way the heat feels. Kind of dries me out and stuff like that. So it's on, but it's like it's got to be like sub-zero in there. It's freezing in there sometimes.
Yeah, no, you like it cold.
I'm always like, why? And I'm questioning it, but I'm the one that's like messing with the thermostat all the time. Like, why in the fuck is it so cold in here?
Yeah, for us, we used to just like during the daytime. It was always. I mean, being Mexican, we have cousins forever, right? So there was always like a good amount of.
That was racist.
Well, shit, I lived it, so I can say it. We were all about.
I don't think you can say it nowadays. I think it was still racist.
That's true. I offended a lot of people.
You offended yourself.
Oh, God, I'm gonna have to write myself a letter.
See,
tell myself how offended I am of myself.
Tell yourself that you can't speak on the Academy Awards, right?
Yeah, Kevin Hart, come on. But anyway,
a couple gay jokes never killed anybody, right?
Yeah. I don't even want to bother. But no, we would play football in the street all day long until it got dark, and then we'd play Madden on PlayStation. We'd have tournaments, these gigantic tournaments, like where
out in the street you were Randy Moss, and then when you got inside you were Randy Moss.
Essentially, yeah. It was so much fun, but I mean, it just
remember Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper, totally unstoppable in Madden football. Were you around for that era, or were you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just trying to think who was.
But you could just roll out with Dante Culpepper all day and throw bombs. I mean, you just couldn't cover Randy Moss.
Yeah, I was almost always the Buccaneers, though. Mike Allstott, work done.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then that defense was insane.
Oh,
Rondé Barber, John Lynch,
Derek Brooks.
I believe they had
Warren Sapp.
Yeah, they had Sapp and. No, yeah, that's who it was. I was going to say Simeon Rice, but they might have even had him. I don't remember.
I know that there's a story about Warren Sapp when he was playing. high school football, he was just killing everybody.
Mhm.
Like he was just an absolute mutant, and he was faster than everybody. He was bigger than everybody. No one could stop him. No one could block him. No one could do anything. Something happened in a game, and he probably played both ways. Maybe he was a tight end. He went to catch the ball, and he just got lit up. He got killed. And not only did he get killed, but the ball flew up in the air, and the guy that smashed him caught the ball and then ran it back for a touchdown. And he's like, who in the fuck is that guy?
Mhm.
And it was Derek Brooks, who later became his teammate on the Buccaneers. But that guy was a savage. That guy doesn't get enough. Derek Brooks doesn't get enough credit. I remember when he was at Florida State that he, in the beginning of the year, Florida State was so dominant that he had more points. He had more touchdowns than like a lot of the opponents that they played against. You know, so like
by himself.
By himself. Like he would score, like, even if you took away all the other points that the Florida State scored, they would still beat him with the amount of points that their linebacker put up, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
he was a mutant.
It was a trip, man. Because like I remember when we were kids, like all the aunts and uncles got together, and it was usually at our house. I just think it was just more central, and then just as like it just kept happening, it just kind of became like a little bit more tiring each time. And then of course the family kept growing, and then it's like, you know, the kids have kids, and then shit, now some kids have kids, and it's like, fuck.
You know, it's a sad thing to deal with is when somebody dies, or when like both people die of the family who were the like elders of the family, and they're not there anymore, and then it's like, well, where do we go now?
Yeah,
like it's such tradition to go to this one spot. You know, you go to your grandma's house or whatever it is, and that's where you go every year for a decade or 2 decades, and then maybe grandma gets sick and grandpa or whatever the scenario is, and now you can't go there anymore. Maybe because there's only one of them, or maybe one of them's too old or too ill to really have everyone at the house, or whatever happens. And it's like, well, shit, man, now, now what do we do? You got to try to refigure that out. And it's, that happened in my family, and it was really hard to figure out. You know, my grandfather, my dad's dad was just like a rock star. You know, he was like 5'2" if he's lucky, but he was awesome to be around. My grandmother was like the most amazing host ever. She'd get you cookies and ice cream, and like she was just ridiculous. She'd be like, "Mark, honey, you want a grilled cheese sandwich, or you want me to you know?" And she would just like, it was ridiculous. She'd make you anything at any time, and you didn't understand how are you able to do this? You got 9 of your own kids. There's 5,000 grandkids running around here. This doesn't make any sense. She's like, and she's like cooking meatballs on the stove and doing something else. And she's like, I could whip you up some pancakes real quick. I'm like, pancakes aren't real quick, Grandma. Like,
right.
Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. I'll have a cup of milk, okay? Like, but she would still go ahead and like make it for you and put it in front of you. Of course, you would smash it.
And it would be the best thing you've ever had.
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, grandmothers do that. I don't know how they have that skill.
They got that full court press going.
Yeah, because they always have like 13 things going on at once.
They're going to hit you with something.
Eventually. Like, hey, remember when I had 85 things going on and you kind of mentioned you were hungry and I made you those pancakes? Well,
now you have to help me out.
Yeah.
No, but they're gonna get you for something. They're gonna like make you eat something. I don't know what that is. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're gonna force feed something down your face no matter what you do.
Any memorable gifts from your childhood?
Yeah, you know, I remember getting like more like video games than anything. Like I gotta get the video game lifestyle back somehow. I gotta regain. Like we got that N64 here. We gotta get that set up. That's a New Year's resolution for me to play more video games.
Hey, that's a great resolution.
Another resolution that I have is really funny because it's the opposite of like what you should do. But I told Andy the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stop telling people when I'm coming to the gym. And she's she's like, well, why don't you come at it from a different angle and just say like that you're gonna be on time? And I was like, that's way too. I can't figure that out.
Oh man, it's gonna be a fun year. Oh man,
she was laughing at me so hard. She's like, that's the funniest thing I ever heard. She's like, why don't you just commit to being on time? I'm like, I don't know if I could figure that out. So some parts of it I can figure out, but it just depends. Like if I have a day where I have to there's days where I work on a bunch of different stuff, and it's I could probably do a better job of organizing that. That would probably help. But I just go through, like, I'll work on like podcast stuff, and then I'll work on like slingshot stuff. I might think about my own workout. I might think about your workout. I might think about helping my dad, or somebody I've been texting back and forth that I'm helping, or it could be a million different things going on. And sometimes it's the videos we shoot in here. Sometimes it's material for this podcast or guests for the podcast. A lot of times what happens is I'll go through this process of going over some of these things, but a lot of this stuff is also, there's a creativity factor to it. And I've learned that you cannot, well, maybe you can, but it's not a wise move for me to put a time cap on creativity or to put anything on creativity. Like, creativity is like, it could be just completely wild and irrational thoughts, and I'll try to get them down on paper, and I'll try to look at them, and I'll try to make sense of them. Like, maybe I think of like, hey, what if I joined forces with this person? Or what if I met up with this person? Or what if I had this person fly to Super Training Gym? Or what if we did something cool for a guest or a friend that we've had here in the past? Or what if we did something really cool for the fans? Or like, and so those things, unfortunately, they take a lot of time. And in talking to my brother today about, our movie stuff that we have going on, he's like, man, sometimes I'll be working on that thing for hours. And you know what? He's like, I won't get much done. And I'm like, that's okay, though. That's the creative process is that way. Sometimes nothing comes out. You just are thinking and like nothing that great comes out. The weird thing is that the second that you go to do something else is when your mind kicks back up and you're like, oh man, this is perfect for this. We got to do it this way. And so, and for a lot of those reasons, you have to kind of like do some other shit to get your brain to kind of kick in the right direction.
Yeah, and then you kind of think like, oh, I should have just did this, 2 hours ago. But you might not have been able to actually reach that point unless you kind of did drag through the mud for a little while. So that way, when you did switch over, your brain, kind of clicked.
You got to drag your fat little feet. But I'd love to get like a regular Nintendo system. Just I just want to play some freaking Punch Out and shit like that.
Yeah,
like I love that stuff.
Man, we can probably
Mario Brothers.
We can build one. I know they have like the mini NES systems and stuff, but I don't know if they're any good.
I'm just gonna go buy one. That's it.
Yeah.
Today, I'm gonna go buy one. But we're gonna figure it out because we got to at least play some video games in here.
I did get Worms, the video game.
Coming. You had it coming.
I'll get you.
God, I love that game.
It's so much fun. I got to bring it in. Maybe I'll bring it in Friday.
Yeah, that was a great game. I love a strategy game like that is fantastic. But going back to some memories and stuff, like I remember like we'd play games and stuff like that. And I just what I remember the most from the holidays is like just hearing people just laugh. Like my family getting together, and like just like any other family, like there's always like there's something always happens. There's always some sort of controversy, or you guys know my brother's past, so like a lot of his shit was like kind of part of our holiday stuff as well. And we have other family members that have had multiple issues or whatever. There's always like family drama, right? But aside from that, I just remember like somebody telling a joke and then just everyone just laughing their ass off, or one of the kids is into football, or one of the kids is into this or into that, and they share something with everybody, and everybody gets a real kick out of it. So I was really, I feel like really blessed that I was part of a family that got together, and I don't know who the driving force behind that was, but that was always really cool that we all got together that way. And I'm still very fortunate because it's fun to like get together in smaller groups from time to time, but it's really wonderful to have, 30, 40, 50 people get together. It's amazing. And you maybe that way you don't get to maybe share as much time with everybody, but there is something that's kind of cool about it when it's like your, second cousin, your aunt, and you're like all these people that you just normally don't see come out of the woodwork for that one day, and you get to see everybody. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and then just especially now with like what I've been up to lately, it would be pretty cool. But man, we have multiple families, multiple houses to get to, so like and we celebrate on Christmas Eve. We kind of get it over with, and then Christmas Day, everyone just kind of chills at home. So it's always a mad dash to get to everyone's house, and we never really have time for everything. So it's a little different. It's tough, but I don't know, we make it work.
I talked to a guy at Phil's yesterday. He said he had 5 different parties to go to because his like biological dad remarried twice, and he has like 3 moms, something wild like that. And then his girlfriend situation is similar, so they had to pop all over all these other spots.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Thankfully, we're not that bad, but it's a bummer that everyone's not close.
Right.
So we have like 40-minute drive in between each house. So it's like half the day is spent in the car, which is a bummer.
Yeah, and that was cool about going to my grandparents' house when I was a kid, is that they were like 40 minutes away, but they lived down the street from each other. So like we had to drive where I grew up was about 40 minutes away from where my both sets of my grandparents lived, but then my mom and dad were down the street from each other because my dad winked at my mom on the bus when she was like 13 and he was like 15 or whatever, and there you go.
Dang.
Sheldon with the moves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dang, got all the game.
I know. Just a quick little wink.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, we're at 855 Riverside Parkway. We're suite number 10. We have a store in here, so you can come check out our store. We got slingshots, we got protein powder, we got Keto Pro, we got the War on Carbs book, we got knee sleeves, we got wrist wraps, we got everything that you see at markbellslingshot.com and more. We have it all here at our store. In addition to that, we got some stuff coming up, don't we, Andrew? We got the LA Fit. When's LA Fit Expo? You going to that?
I don't know if I'm going to that, but
you shouldn't be invited.
If I am invited, I just got uninvited.
We got to start uninviting you to stuff.
Hey, I mean, whatever. What you do, what you got to do.
Your bench press is getting too big. We got to start to slow you down somehow. We got to figure out a way to contain all this. We're going to do a 5x5 today, buddy.
I'm pretty excited for that.
I'm actually going to stick to it, too. A lot of times I say that and we don't do a 5x5, but we're going to do a 5x5.
Yeah. So the LA Fit Expo is on January 11th. No, wait. Hold on. Is that right? No, that can't be right. It says shipping deadline. No, that's not it. My bad. Sorry, it's on the 26th of January. So it's a ways out.
Yeah, so we're going to be at the LA Fit Expo January 26th and 27th. Hopefully this year I'll be there both days. Last year I wasn't able to commit to being there both days. We're working on some stuff with the podcast. We're working on Jocko Willink. If you guys got some contacts towards him, that would be cool. We have some hookups, so hopefully we can make some contact with him. We're working on doing something with Christian Guzman, who I know a lot of you are aware of because he's very famous in the fitness industry. Working on doing more stuff with Team Frisella out there at First Form Nutrition, and just putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And I'm super excited. We're about 8 weeks out from the Super Training Classic, which is February 9th and 10th. On the 10th, I believe we'll have Jay Cutler. I apologize that this has not been officially confirmed yet. We've been working on his schedule. He's got a very taxing schedule, so we are doing our best to work on that. I've also been in communication with Ed Milet, who some of you may know. He's real popular on Instagram. A lot of great motivational information along with business information. Also been communicating with a lot of other people that you guys are going to be super pumped about. So I'm really fired up and excited about that. And the Super Training Classic, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm gonna lift in the meet. Right now, it kind of looks like I'm just going to bench press, but I guess we'll see. I feel healthy enough to deadlift as well. My worry is that like I'll get excited and want to go too heavy and then like totally fuck myself up. So I may bench and deadlift just so that Andrew bench and deadlifts as well. But we'll kind of see. I mean, I might as well just commit to it and do both. But bench strength is feeling good. In my head, I'm thinking, I might need all 3 attempts to figure out how to bench 500 pounds because that's a short window. If the 500 pounds is there, then that's cool. And if I am able to do it on a second attempt, then I might throw a slingshot on and get another bench in.
There you go.
So we'll kind of see. Andrew has benched 225 in the gym. I think it'd be really cool if you're able to do about 235 on the platform with a pause. That'd be
huge.
Yeah, that would be huge. And even if you could walk away with really anything above 220 pounds or so would be huge with a pause in a meet. You never done one before, so that'd be sick.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, like, logistically, how is it going to work for me? We got to take photos, and then I think we're doing some podcasting too.
You'll be fine.
Because people keep asking me, and I'm like, I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah. You'll be fine. I think we may have nixed some of the podcast stuff.
Okay.
I think I've seen you do more. If I haven't seen you do it before, then I'd be like, oh man, I don't know how Andrew's going to survive that. But Andrew has this weird ability of being in two places at once. He hasn't shared it with everybody yet because he's kind of got like a proprietary thing going. I think he's going to wait till he's got some side stuff going on with Elon Musk that I was not supposed to say anything.
Waiting for the patent before we can say anything, and even then, I probably won't be able to.
I apologize for letting the bag out of the cat.
We won't get into what PETA just recently said. They don't want people to use like animal, like whatever that saying just was.
Oh.
They like don't.
Oh, the cat out of the bag?
Yeah, like don't beat a dead horse. They say don't feed a fed horse.
Oh, yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't mean to beat a dead. What a weird.
I just.
What a weird.
But what I was thinking is
a lot of these sayings are really weird anyway.
But I would think that they would totally co-sign with "don't beat a dead horse" because the horse is already dead. You don't need to be more cruel to it.
Yeah.
So I think they missed the.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out another saying. Anyway, I'd be pretty stoked to try to test the strength on the platform.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, somebody had reached out. And I'm like, I got to figure out, like, because there's one thing to be like a little nervous and excited. To just go to the event to take pictures and podcast or, interview people, whatever. But it's like, I got to do that and then figure out how to test my strength on the platform. It's like, a couple things got to fall into place, but at the same time, maybe that takes some of the pressure off of actually hitting the platform.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Also, when you're open up those gifts, if you end up getting a slingshot gift, you end up getting something from markbellslingshot.com, tag me at marksmellybell on Instagram. Throw it up on your IG story, and I'm going to share that on my Instagram. So that would be kind of cool. I already got some people that sent me some stuff, and they're super pumped. And like that's just a weird. Some of the stuff sometimes is like these weird things that I never imagined or thought. But like the fact that a slingshot's going to be underneath somebody's Christmas tree, and it's going to make somebody pumped and excited, and it's going to help their bench press for 2019 and years to come, gets me fired up and excited. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.